A single flicker of light in the darkness was all it took for the entire auditorium to fall silent, and in that moment, nobody in the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles knew they were about to witness a performance that would be talked about across America for years to come. Before we dive into this unbelievable journey of talent, struggle, and a moment that shocked Simon Cowell himself, make sure you subscribe to the channel and join thousands of viewers across the United States who love emotional and unforgettable talent show stories, because this one will stay in your heart long after it ends. The year was 2025, and America's Got Talent had already seen dozens of extraordinary acts that season, but nothing prepared the judges or the audience for the arrival of a group calling themselves Light Wire, a Filipino LED dance crew from a small coastal town in Cebu. The group consisted of 7 young performers ranging from ages 16 to 24, each carrying stories of poverty, sacrifice, and dreams larger than the islands they came from. Their leader, Marco Reyes, stood backstage clutching a worn-out backpack filled with damaged LED wires and spare batteries held together with tape. Marco had once worked in a fishing port where he spent nights repairing broken nets under dim lantern light, and it was during those long nights that he first imagined creating dance performances using lights in the darkness. Marco's father had been a fisherman lost during a typhoon when Marco was only 12 years old, forcing him to leave school temporarily to support his mother and younger sister. Dance was never part of his life until he saw a video on a borrowed phone of an international LED performance group. The idea sparked a fire inside him, and despite having no money for equipment, he began experimenting with broken Christmas lights, rewiring them and attaching them to old clothing. Soon, neighborhood children joined him, fascinated by the glowing movements they created in abandoned basketball courts at night. Each member of Light Wire had their own struggles. There was Jun, who sold street food with his grandmother after his parents separated, and Liza, the only female member, who secretly practiced dance routines after working as a laundry helper. Another member, Carlo, suffered from partial hearing loss but memorized rhythms through vibrations in the floor. Together, they built performances using recycled materials, practicing under streetlights and recording themselves using second-hand phones to improve their synchronization. When auditions for America's Got Talent were announced, Marco dismissed the idea at first, believing it was impossible for them to travel to the United States. However, a local community fundraiser changed everything. A viral social media video of their performance reached overseas Filipino workers in California, who raised funds to sponsor their trip. The crew arrived in Los Angeles overwhelmed by skyscrapers, massive screens, and professional dancers everywhere. Their confidence shook when they saw other contestants with advanced technology and professional choreographers. Backstage on audition day, tension filled the air. The crew's LED suits malfunctioned during rehearsal when several wires burned out due to voltage differences between their equipment and American power supplies. Panic spread among the group as technicians warned them they had only 30 minutes before stage call. Marco's hands trembled as he tried fixing circuits with limited tools. Liza began crying quietly, believing their dream would end before it started. Just as hope seemed lost, Carlo, who rarely spoke due to his hearing condition, suggested rearranging the choreography to hide the damaged sections of their suits. His idea required last-minute changes, forcing the group to relearn transitions moments before stepping onto one of the biggest stages in the world. When their name was announced, Lightwire walked onto the stage wearing dark cloaks, their faces serious but determined. The judges greeted them with curiosity. Simon Cowell leaned forward, slightly skeptical, asking Marco what made them different from other LED dance acts. Marco spoke honestly, explaining they built everything themselves from recycled wires and broken lights. The audience responded with supportive applause, but Simon remained reserved, simply nodding and telling them to begin. The stage went completely dark. A soft ocean wave sound echoed through the theater, symbolizing their hometown. Suddenly, thin blue lights flickered across the stage floor, forming patterns that resembled water ripples. The audience leaned forward as 7 glowing outlines appeared one by one. Their movements were slow and emotional, telling a silent story of fishermen leaving their families at dawn. The choreography shifted suddenly as red lights flashed, symbolizing a storm. The dancers moved in chaotic synchronization, their suits flickering unpredictably due to the earlier technical damage, but instead of ruining the performance, it added an eerie realism to the storm sequence. Halfway through the routine, the music cut out unexpectedly. Gasps spread through the theater as complete silence replaced the soundtrack. Backstage technicians scrambled, but Marco made a split-second decision. He stomped his foot rhythmically on the stage floor, creating vibrations Carlo could feel. One by one, the crew followed Marco's stomps, turning the performance into a raw, beat-driven routine powered entirely by body percussion and glowing movements. The audience began clapping along instinctively, creating a thunderous rhythm that filled the theater. Just as the routine reached its emotional peak, Marco's suit suddenly lost power, leaving him invisible in the darkness. For a terrifying second, it seemed the entire performance would collapse. Instead, Liza stepped forward, grabbing Marco's hands and guiding him through the choreography while the other members circled them, their lights forming a glowing heart shape around the pair. The moment symbolized unity and sacrifice, and many audience members were visibly wiping tears. Then came the final twist. The lights on all dancers shut off simultaneously, leaving the stage in total darkness. A single spotlight illuminated Marco holding a small lantern, representing hope. As he raised the lantern, every LED wire across their costumes reignited brighter than before, revealing the American and Filipino flags merged into a glowing pattern across their bodies. The theater erupted in screams and cheers before the music even ended. When the performance concluded, the audience stood in a roaring standing ovation that lasted nearly a full minute. Sofia Vergara covered her mouth in shock. Howie Mandel repeatedly shouted that it was one of the most creative performances he had ever seen, and Heidi Klum wiped tears while praising their storytelling. Simon Cowell remained silent, staring at the stage while the crowd chanted for the golden buzzer. Simon finally stood up slowly, walking toward the crew with a serious expression that made Marco fear criticism was coming. Simon began speaking about how he had seen countless LED acts over the years but had never witnessed one that combined emotional storytelling with raw technical improvisation under pressure. He pointed out how the accidental glitches actually elevated their performance, proving true artistry comes from heart rather than perfection. The tension in the theater became unbearable as Simon paused mid-sentence, looking directly at Marco. Then Simon reached forward and slammed the golden buzzer with force. Golden confetti exploded from above, raining across the stage as light wire collapsed into tears and hugged each other tightly. Marco fell to his knees, overwhelmed by memories of his father and their journey from dark fishing docks to the brightest stage in America. The audience screamed louder than any moment that season, and social media instantly exploded with clips of the performance going viral across the United States. Backstage interviews revealed another emotional twist when Marco received a video message from his mother watching from Cebu, crying with pride alongside the entire community gathered around a single television. She told Marco his father would have been proud, causing the entire crew to break down again. American fans quickly launched crowdfunding campaigns to support dance programs in their hometown, turning Lightwire into symbols of resilience and unity. As the competition progressed, Lightwire faced new challenges including advanced rival crews with million-dollar stage effects, but their authenticity kept winning hearts. During the semi-finals, they revealed Carlo's hearing condition publicly, performing a routine demonstrating how he felt music through vibrations, which earned another emotional standing ovation. Their journey transformed from a simple audition story into a global inspiration about teamwork and perseverance. By the time they reached the finals, Lightwire had become one of the most beloved acts in AGT history. Although they faced intense competition, their Golden Buzzer audition remained the most viewed performance of the season, watched millions of times across streaming platforms and television reruns. Simon later admitted in interviews that pressing the Golden Buzzer for Lightwire was one of the most emotional decisions of his career because it reminded him why talent shows exist in the first place.